We're getting deep into some important conversations, aren't we? Because you live in a world where there are so many around you who feel integral to your experience, to your thoughts, and to your emotions. And it does seem at times that you have no control over the way you feel, because you have no control over the way they behave, and therefore you have no control over your response to the way they behave. But once you understand that there's more to the journey than the conversation that you're having with them right now, and instead of just going right to the conversation into a momentum that makes it again and again turn out the way you don't want it to be, you will start in another place and see where that leads. You will find yourself in so many cases, in fact in the majority of them, in alignment, and then in a physical situation where things begin to turn in the relationships in the way that you would like them to. You have so much more power of influence, but power of influence is a different thing entirely than control. Control is about using words and behavior in order to affect different responses and results from others. Inspiration is a whole different thing. Influence from alignment is a whole different thing. When you allow yourself to tune in to the resources of Source, and you practice that vibration of who you really are, and then law of attraction yields to you the perfect opportunity for you to engage, you'll have an entirely different experience. One who's connected to this stream of well-being is more influential and more powerful than millions who are not, you see. But if you're not tapping in, so you don't have that power with you, and you don't have that clarity with you, then you're just sort of duking it out like everybody else is, and coming to feel less worthy and less powerful in the process. It's such a nice thing to master your consistent connection with your clarity and your power.
Just the rocks hurt. Remember, you used to use that analogy of the river, and used to say that when you have a fast-moving stream, the rocks hurt. And sometimes I find that the rocks not only hurt, they actually throw you off course. They actually throw you in a thing where you start finding yourself struggling, and you actually aren't even aware of it until later. And to me, that's the struggle that I think Abraham doesn't get. That's the struggle that the group of you don't get, is sort of like, it's really hard. It really becomes difficult. When you even understand the way it flows, it's really hard.
But this is the part that we don't get. This is really what we don't get. We don't get why, when something hurts, you keep doing it.
It's so true. Yeah.
That's the part that is, we don't get that. We don't get that.
But isn't that where the balance comes from, though?
The balance?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the clarity comes from. That's where the true desires come from. But if you hold yourself in the step one moment where you're asking, then you're not in the receptive mode. So it's really about balance, isn't it? It's about realizing that that hurt and realizing how you got there. And that's really what we're talking about these days, because we really do get it. We want you to get that when you felt like this, that you're not going to end up on the rocks unless there's been this and this and this and this and this and this. And if you're aware of this, even if you're aware of this, even better, but even if you're only aware of this, you can avoid how the rock's hurting so much. But if you're aware of these feelings that are moving toward this manifestation that you don't want, then you can do something about it before the momentum makes it illogical to do something about it.
See, to me that seems difficult, because one of the things that I'm also aware of is that since I've started trying to clean up my vibration, that I'm aware that I focus on things that are further and further in the past, because the things that were more recent, I've sort of cleaned those up. I've gotten those things straightened out, and they become deeper and further back that I'm cleaning up those vibrations, and essentially, and then all of a sudden I have experiences where I'm finding myself slamming against something. I go, hold it, isn't this just the same thing that I've been slamming against for forever?
Well, maybe it is, but when you slam against it from your new perspective, at least you have greater clarity about it. In other words, at what point do you say to yourself, wait a minute, I was supposed to be having fun.
Right.
Wait a minute, I was supposed to be having fun here.
It does happen eventually. I mean, it just takes time, and I finally find myself there. But I also find that for my daughter, it's the thing of, I don't understand how to do that. So when I see her slamming against stuff, and I see her having these really strong emotions to things, sometimes the only thing I can do is something that you actually advised, was you just get in the vortex yourself and show her the way.
Well, the reason that we have presented this deliberate creation in the way that we have is because you have picked up along your trail beliefs. Some of them serve you and some of them don't. And so we wanted to help you to find a new starting place. So we say it to you, you're the creator of your own reality. And most of you liked that idea until you created something you didn't like, and then you wanted it to be somebody else's doing. You are the creator of your own reality. And the way you create your reality is by broadcasting, which causes a signal that law of attraction responds to. So you are the creator of your own reality because you are offering a signal, and law of attraction is responding to it. That's a cause and an effect. And then we went on to explain to you that as you are broadcasting and as you are receiving, that just through trial and error, and there is no error, but just through having the experience, you can show yourself what this broadcast accomplishes and what this broadcast accomplishes. But most of you were not getting that because you were not willing to give yourself the permission to feel good. That's why your guidance system was sort of slow in kicking in for so many of you, because you'd been taught earlier on, and many of the beliefs that you were carrying around were unlike the ones that you were teaching your little girl. You were for the most part taught that struggle is what pays off, and that hard work is what pays off, and that fun is for the lazy and the idle mind and so forth. In other words, you have to pay a price. And so many of you picked up these thoughts along your physical trail that put you in resistance without even knowing that you were. So then we say you are the creator of your own reality, and you can think on purpose. And the way you know the effectiveness of the thought that you're thinking, the way you know how this thought is likely to turn out, because there are not instant manifestations, is that you feel the relationship between the thought you're thinking and your inner being. So then we begin talking to you about who you are, that you are source energy, and that you've come into this physical body, and that you are an extension of source energy, and there's a relationship between you and you. Well, at first this feels odd to you, but once you have heard that, because there is a resonance in it, because you know that, because you, after all, are an extension of source energy. Now, next time you have an emotion, which you didn't mean to conjure, it just happened to you because of whatever you were observing, now you have some ability to reason with that. As you stop and think, what is this emotion telling me? It's telling me that I have a vantage point right now about this that the broader part of me is not having. My inner being does not have the same opinion about this right here that I do. And now you have the freedom to hold on to your opinion, no matter how it feels, or to talk yourself into vibrational alignment with your broader point of view. And that's what your little one is in the process of figuring out. In other words, we really like it when you deliberately try to feel your way into what the source within you knows. So now you have a different platform from which you are approaching life, and life is approaching you. Now you are beginning to accept that you are the creator of your own reality. But you don't just accept it, you understand it. And you also begin to understand that you're not out here on the raw and ragged edge alone. You're not here to prove something. You are an extension of something that is not asking for any proof. It really is for the joy of it. It really is for the fun of it. It's not for the learning of it. It's not for the expansion of it. All that is natural. But it is for the joy of it. And so as you measure the way you are feeling about something, and you feel it in that strong way, and you consciously acknowledge, what must my inner being be feeling if it's different from what I'm feeling, you can show yourself in a very short period of time what the source within you knows and thinks and practices and is about everything. And once you do that, once you accept that there is a guiding light, that there is a touchstone, that there is a success point, that there is an energy that knows, that there is guidance, then as you deliberately align with it, your sense of well-being and your sense of clarity and your sense of worthiness just sort of become a constant within you. And once that happens, then it doesn't matter so much to you where you stand in any moment in time. then you don't sweat the small stuff. In fact, it's all small stuff. Instead, you take the words that you've been saying to your little one from the time that she was able to really comprehend your language. It's supposed to be fun today. It's supposed to be fun. We've enjoyed this interaction more than any that has come before. There is so much love here for you. And for now, we are complete. So good. So good. Thank you so much. It's really good.